Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the Middle Ages, but forget knights and castles for a moment. We're going on a voyage to explore one of the most powerful and fascinating economic forces of its time, the Hanseatic League. Picture this, a network of cities stretching across Northern Europe, from London to Novgorod, all bound together not by a king or an emperor, but by the pursuit of wealth and trade. This was a league of merchants, a commercial superpower that dominated the seas and markets for centuries. So what exactly was the Hanseatic League? In simple terms, it was a confederation of merchant guilds and their market towns. It started small, sometime in the 12th century, with German traders seeking to protect their interests abroad. Imagine traveling by sea back then. The risks were enormous. You had pirates, treacherous weather, and unpredictable local rulers who could slap on a new tax whenever they felt like it. To combat this, merchants from cities like Lübeck and Hamburg decided to pool their resources. They traveled in convoys for protection and negotiated trade privileges as a group, giving them much more leverage than any single trader could ever have. This loose alliance quickly grew into a formidable organization. At its peak, the League included nearly 200 towns and cities. The core cities were in modern-day Germany, like Lübeck, which became known as the Queen of the Hansa. But its influence spread far and wide. They established major trading posts called kontors in key foreign markets like Bruges, London, Bergen, and Novgorod. These kontors were like little German city-states within foreign lands, with their own warehouses, living quarters, and legal systems. This setup allowed them to control trade routes and monopolize key commodities. What were they trading? Everything you can imagine that was valuable back then. From the east, they brought in furs, wax, amber, and grain from the vast lands of Russia and the Baltic. From the west, they sourced wool and cloth from England and Flanders. From Scandinavia, it was fish, especially herring, which was a staple food across Europe, along with timber and copper. And from the south, they imported wine, salt, and spices. The Hanseatic merchants were the middlemen, connecting these different regions and getting rich in the process. Their ships, called cogs, with their high sides and large cargo holds, were the workhorses of the North and Baltic seas, a common sight in every major port. The League wasn't just an economic alliance, it had real political muscle. When a ruler tried to revoke their privileges or impose unfair taxes, the Hansa could respond with a trade embargo, cutting off a whole kingdom from essential goods. This was a powerful weapon. If that didn't work, they weren't afraid to use force. The League had its own navy and could wage war to protect its interests. In the 1360s, they even went to war with the powerful Kingdom of Denmark and won, forcing the Danish king to grant them even more favorable trade rights in the Treaty of Stralsund. This victory marked the zenith of Hanseatic power. For a brief period, this League of Merchants was the undisputed master of Northern European trade. Life as a Hanseatic merchant was demanding. It required extensive travel, knowledge of different languages and currencies, and a sharp business mind. These were not just shopkeepers, they were international entrepreneurs, financiers, and diplomats all rolled into one. They developed sophisticated business practices, like double-entry bookkeeping and forms of credit, to manage their vast enterprises. The wealth they generated transformed their home cities. The magnificent brick Gothic architecture, the grand town halls, and the imposing churches you can still see in cities like Lübeck, Hamburg, and Gdansk are a direct testament to the prosperity the Hanseatic League brought. This wealth also fostered a unique urban culture, distinct from the feudal society of the countryside. So, if the Hanseatic League was so powerful, why isn't it still around today? Like all great powers, its decline was gradual and caused by a combination of factors. By the late 15th century, the world was changing. Nation-states like England, France, and Sweden were growing stronger and wanted to control their own trade. They began challenging the League's monopolies and promoting their own merchants. New trade routes were also discovered. The age of exploration, kicked off by voyages like Columbus's, shifted the economic center of Europe from the Baltic to the Atlantic. Suddenly, trade with the Americas and Asia became far more lucrative. Internally, the League also faced problems. The unity that had been its greatest strength began to fracture. Cities started prioritizing their own local interests over the collective good of the League. Some members grew jealous of the dominance of cities like Lübeck. As external pressures mounted, the members found it harder and harder to agree on a common course of action. The Protestant Reformation also added a layer of religious division to the existing economic rivalries. The final nail in the coffin was the 30 Years' War in the 17th century, which devastated Germany and disrupted the old trade networks for good. The last official meeting of the Hanseatic League was held in 1669. With only a few cities in attendance, it quietly faded into history. But the legacy of the Hansa lives on. It was a pioneering force in international trade and law, creating a model for commercial cooperation that was centuries ahead of its time. The spirit of the League is still visible in the proud, independent identities of former Hanseatic cities. Many of them still use the Hanseatic city title, like Hamburg and Bremen. They were the original free traders, proving that cooperation and commerce could be just as powerful as armies and crowns. They shaped the economic and political map of Northern Europe and left behind a legacy of stunning architecture and a fascinating history of ambition, power, and eventual decline. So the next time you hear about trade alliances or global commerce, remember the Hanseatic League, a medieval network of cities that for a time ruled the waves and markets of the north, not with a scepter, but with a balance sheet. It's a powerful reminder of how trade has always shaped our world. Thank you so much for joining us on this historical journey. If you enjoyed learning about the Hanseatic League, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating moments from the past. Let us know in the comments what piece of history you'd like us to explore next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.